Washington football. Woo!
In the tally.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. But we are joined by returning guest and really good friend of this podcast, Mr. Zach Selby of the Washington football team. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Zach. How are you feeling?
Well, I got home around 3:30. I didn't go to sleep till 4:30. Very tired, but recovering from the heart attacks that I had to suffer in the press box at FedEx Field. So it's I've been in a glass case of emotion for the past 24 hours.
Right, and it's crazy. Zach, this is now what? This has got to be like your 10th time on here at this point. So yeah, I like how Kyle put that. Very, very good friend of the pod. I mean, Logan Paulson's my best friend. Don't take offense to that, but he's probably my best friend in the entire world. Okay. But you're up there. You're close.
You're up there.
You're right there.
Now, the Burgundy Zone is part of Listen Frederick, a curated network of local podcasts produced in and focused on the Frederick area. Along with highlighting local talent, Listen Frederick happens to bring local stories, voices, and personalities together to create a podcast community. Listen Frederick is part of the Manning Media family, home of Key 103 and 106.9 The Eagle. You can check out more about us and other shows on the network at listenfrederick.com. Now, Selby,
out here just growing the pod. I'm so proud of you, man.
It's all because you rigged that election for us.
It's true. I know Selby. We won't talk about that.
Yeah, don't tell Julie.
Hey, but it's okay. Can't take the award from us now.
Selby, on this Victory Friday, the Washington football team won 30-29. I was at the game last night. That was an electric finish to a football game. Probably the best way for Washington to play on primetime in that kind of fashion. But the first question I have for you, the legend of Taylor Heinicke continues. What did you take away with his performance from that game?
Well, I'll say that he looked like a conventional, traditional quarterback. And that was very refreshing to see because a lot of these younger quarterbacks like to scramble around. Sometimes that's what they hang their hat on. And you don't really like to see that. I mean, obviously it's great to see on the highlight reel, and this is kind of a point that's been brought up by a lot of analysts these days, is that as they get older, you need to have something to fall back on. And I can only think of maybe one or two times where he actually scrambled. I don't think he had that many many rush yards, and everything he did was primarily out of the pocket, and he looked pretty damn good doing it too. Like now, JD Mckissick said after the game he looked like Russell Wilson. I'm not going to go that far, but he looked poised. He looked confident. He looked like he was in control of the game, basically from start to finish, and that is about as reassuring of a situation as you can hope for, given that you're about to go into a gauntlet of a season after this, and you want to have somebody like Heinicke who can control the situation, who's confident, and is just a flat-out gamer.
Yeah, and then one little tidbit stat that I got from the Washington PR department, Taylor Heinicke, the only quarterback in NFL franchise history, including the playoffs, to have over 900 yards passing in his first 3 games as a starter in the NFL.
He also has the most completions for his first 3 games in NFL history.
Mm-hmm.
So give the man his flowers.
Yeah,
definitely. And speaking of giving someone their flowers, great segue, Kyle. Got to give Scott Turner his flowers. I think that he called
talk about Eric
a hell
Flowers.
of a game last night.
I thought it was too.
I was like, that good. All right. No wonder we're sponsored.
Someone's got to pay the bills, right? But yeah, speaking of Scott Turner, I think that he called a great game last night. Do you think that was the best game that he's called as a Washington offensive coordinator? And what kind of grade would you give him for last night?
It's definitely up there. Because you have to, I mean, they had 407 yards of offense, which much better than the 259 they had against the Chargers. That's and it's not a complete turnaround, but it's at least a, like, I'll say what's the 3/4 of a 180-degree turnaround. I mean, he had a pretty good control of what they wanted to see out of that game. They to me, in my eyes, they used Antonio Gibson well enough in the run game. I think a lot of people are trying to say they really want him to be used more often, which is ironic considering that he got so much hate for the fumble that ruined otherwise a really good day against the Chargers. But I think that he got Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas more involved early and often. That's something that was very important. I mean, Terry I think he didn't drop his first drop came around, I think it was like the second or third quarter. I mean, that first start of the game, he was pretty much as automatic as you would hope for. And then, using Heineke at not even like trying to rely so much on Heineke's legs, bringing it back to that point. It's all about what he did with the pass game and using the run game to complement it. I think that was a pretty solid use of the scheme there. And if I had to give a grade on it, I'd say it was a B+. Still some room to improve. There's still some calls some people questioned, but at the end of the day, I think it was much better day for old Scott Turner.
Yeah, and to give some context to what you said about Terry, he had 11 receptions, 107 yards, 1 touchdown on 14 targets. At 14, he caught 11 of them. He catches everything, man.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Kyle joked before the show. This was Kyle's joke. I didn't say this. Kyle said that. Kyle said that he thinks that Terry McLaurin could probably catch COVID twice with the vaccine, no matter what, because he just catches anything. Kyle said that, not me.
I'm not going to say anything.
But I told Kyle not to say that on air, but I just had to quote him. But anyway, speaking of the receiver core, De'Ami Brown had a fantastic catch last night. And, of course, with Curtis Samuel out, we know that we've been having to rely on some guys. Adam Humphries stepped up. He had a few nice catches. Obviously, we saw J.D. Mckissick. We know what Logan Thomas is capable of. Do you see De'Ami Brown kind of filling that role opposite Terry, or do you think that they're going to kind of continue to use a plethora of players?
I think plethora is the better choice there because, for one, I think it's unfair to put that kind of responsibility on De'Ami right now in this very moment. Maybe we can have that conversation again in a couple of months. Whenever, by that time Curtis will be back and everything. But I think he's at the point now where if we're gonna use, let's use a reference here. Like, I'm sure we all know NSYNC, Backstreet Boys.
Know them.
They're I guess the album would be like the background singer right now. Okay. He's a good piece, valuable, right. But he's the guy.
Terry's Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, like he is Justin Timberlake always.
Right. Yeah.
Any Office fans out there will appreciate that, Jim. But no, I think if you have Terry out there as the lead guy, you have Adam Humphries, veteran, who knows how to move the sticks. That's one of the things he was known for at Tampa Bay, was being able to get just enough yards on third down to keep the chains moving. You have De'Ami there as a guy who can give you a big play every now and again. And then you have other guys like Dax Milne, Logan Thomas, like all those guys are going to play a little bit of a contribution there. But in terms of a number 2 guy, it's always going to be Curtis. I mean, until for as long as he's here, he's going to be that guy.
Yeah, and De'Ami Brown last night, 3 receptions for 34 yards on 6 targets. I'm not going to kill the guy, but the one catch he made, I put it on Twitter, dude. He jumped out of FedEx Field to get that first ball. Right. That was a great catch by him. That was really good to see. Now, my question for you, before we get into the negatives of this game, Zach, I want to keep it on the positive trend here. Jamin Davis, there's been a lot of talk about his improvement, and Pro Football Focus rated him as the highest-rated defender for the Washington football team. I think it was like 86.9. Yep. What happened? What did you see? What do you think coaches saw in a week? I mean, not in a week, but like 4 or 5 days. It was crazy.
Yeah, I really think it just comes down to them using him in the right ways at the right time. Because I think, and I've said this a lot, but I think that this fan base is a little spoiled because you have Chase Young, number 2 overall pick, comes in there and changes the entire face of the defense. That's great. And we have a lot of high hopes for Jamin, but there's not a lot of Chase Youngs out there in the league. There's only a couple out there, and Jamin is going to be a great player, but it's not always going to come at the point where he's that consistent guy all the time. So really it's about picking their spots about, okay, we're in this situation. We feel comfortable putting you out here to make a play for us. Go do that. We need a run stopper. We'll put you in the spot to do that. And, he's starting to understand that. And as he understands it, his role is going to continue to increase. So for all those people out there saying, well, we want to see him more. We want to see him more. Obviously, we all want to see him more. But as he progresses and when the games are going to start mattering more and more often, I would expect him to be out there more often after he gets his feet wet.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And you mentioned De'Ami Brown. I feel like from game 1 to game 2, he definitely progressed a little bit. Obviously, you just talked about Jamin Davis. He progressed a little bit too. Another guy that I was watching closely last night was Sam Cosmi. I feel like obviously he's not going against Joey Bosa last night, but I feel like he had a nice little progression from week 1 to week 2. What did you see out of him, and how would you kind of give him a grade?
I thought he's been good, honestly. And, some people are a little lower on him than me, but I think what you have to look at for him is the technique. The technique is really sound. It just comes down to, and it's something that a lot of rookies have the issue with. It's speeding up their game because the NFL is just so much faster than college football. And you need to have guys out there who know how to use the proper technique, and he does that. But he needs to realize that defensive ends are going to be coming at him a lot quicker of a pace. So his brain, it needs to be not thinking. It needs to just be automatically doing the hand motions and things like that to make sure he's got the proper blocks. And he had his moments. He had some solid plays against that defensive line. Much not as good as the Chargers, but still a quality group. I think he's coming along well. And it's kind of the same thing with Jamin Davis. I expect him to improve as the season goes on. He's far from a finished product, and it's only week 2. I mean, it's the second game of the season, but we're still technically, we're still not too far removed from the season opener. Right. So it's hard for me to say, well, he's going to have a dramatic change in like 5 days. But what you want to see is this. It's not like a more of a flat curve. It's more of like a steady increase. That's what I've seen from him so far.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. Especially Jamin Davis. It's like he hasn't popped up on the stat sheet, but when you watch him, he does play very well and he does his assignments, and that's really all you can ask for him at this point. The tackles will come. But so anyway, switching course to this defense. Of course, as we saw, they got destroyed by Daniel Jones as per usual again. What do you think this defense can do to stop getting killed by some of these offenses? Especially with Josh Allen and the Bills coming or up next. What is something that they can improve on in order to not have Justin Herbert, Daniel Jones, Josh Allen just drop dimes all over the field on them?
It's really going to come down to them not making the mental errors, because we all know that this defense is capable of doing great.
Yes.
So it really just comes down to them having the consistency. Like, for example, the read option plays killed them with 95 yards. That's a perfect example, because defending read option plays is so dependent on everyone doing their job. Even
when Montez Sweat read it right, Daniel Jones is such an underrated athlete that he would still beat him to the edge at times.
And keep this in mind too. Montez is a 4.4 guy as a defensive end,
and he's long.
And he still gained a little bit of yardage there against Montez Sweat. So it really is a situation where they have the talent to do it. They know that didn't just go away last year. But it really is where you have to keep mentally prepared for that in every situation, because if not, you're going to get burned. Like with the Darius Slayton play, that was a miscommunication that might have ended the game
almost. Right.
Honestly, with tight as that. Yeah,
it should have.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the little things that matter a lot. And I think if they can manage a way to limit those, it'll be much better.
Look, I know what the Giants did last night on defense, but I do want to say this defense got 4 sacks. That was more than what the Denver Broncos were able to do against this offensive line. I think this Giants offensive line is a lot better than people are giving them credit for, to be perfectly honest with you. But that being said, they kept Taylor Heinicke clean. They only gave up 1 sack the entire game, even throwing for 46 times. So I want to ask you, Zach, Coach after the game gave 2 game balls away, one to Taylor, one to Dustin Hopkins. Taking those 2 guys out, Who was somebody you believe deserves the game ball for last night?
Outside of those two, well, for me, and I'm not going to go with the easiest suggestion because that would be Terry,
Right.
obviously. Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yes.
Look, this guy, his first catch ever for Washington is one of the best plays you'll ever see live.
Yeah.
That was just insane.
I lost my mind when that
Yeah,
happened.
I mean, and we're the way the press box is, it's very far away from that end zone, so you can only see a little bit of it. And I mean, as soon as he made it, everyone in the press box is like, "Oh my gosh!"
Right.
Like, it was that insane. Even though you're that far away, you still find a way to like appreciate how great that play is.
Dude,
it was a dime, and there's no reason that pass should have been completed. But the way he twisted in air and got both feet down and extended was just unreal.
It was just enough of a situation where Heineke gave him just the right amount of opportunity to go make the play.
Really showed why he was a 5-star wideout coming out of high school.
Yeah, and I was in section 304, Selby, so I was right above you. We saw the same exact play from where you were, and I'm telling you, I saw that play. I ran like right down the side of the stands. There was another guy who did the same exact thing. We met, we like shook hands, we're like, "What's up, guy?" And we both went back to our separate ways. But that was such an amazing catch because Taylor,
what that guy's doing right now?
He's having a great time. But he went through his progressions, and he talked. And Ron Rivera and Taylor, both in their pressers today, talked about how that was his third progression, and he could have ran, but he saw that he had time to throw. He saw the one-on-one matchup and put it in a perfect spot. That kind of maturity from Taylor is huge, right?
Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying earlier, because you're right, he could have run for that, and maybe he could have gotten a touchdown off of that, maybe not. But what's better? Trying to risk your legs and go for a touchdown, or just throw an absolute dime to a tight end who, by the way, again, has not caught a ball for Washington at all. And I mean, Ricky Seals-Jones was kind of like a guy that you appreciated how much experience he had with the Chiefs, but you didn't know that much about him because you had Sammis Reyes, Logan Thomas, John Bates, all these other bigger names that you were more focused on. Ricky Seals-Jones was like, "Hey, by the way, I've had like 8 touchdowns in my career. So I'm a pretty solid guy." And sure enough, he was good.
Yeah, for Taylor to just go through those progressions, look over to the corner, recognize the size difference, the mismatch on Ricky Seals-Jones and the cornerback, and just a process that within like a half or 1.5, 2 second span just shows that he can definitely do it in this league. And I definitely think that going forward, he's going to have some up games, some down games. And speaking of down games, this defensive line has had 2, I wouldn't say down games because last night they were good. I would say.
They made plays, right?
Yeah.
But eventually Jack Del Rio had to start sending some blitzes. He sent Kendall Fuller off the edge. He had to sack. Do you think that this D-line is going to step their game up, or do you think that Del Rio is going to keep having to manufacture pressure with the secondary guys?
I would say it's a mixture of both, honestly, because what you have, like when you're a top 10 sacking defensive line, guess what's going to happen? Offensive coordinator is going to draw at max protections on you. That's just how that's going to work. So it's going to be a mixture of, we're going to have to rely on their athleticism, but we're also going to have to put them in more specific situations to make those plays. It's not going to be as easy now. Like, you're not going to get a lot of one-on-one matchups with Chase Young anymore. You're not going to get a lot of one-on-ones with Montez Sweat or any of those guys because they're aware, hey, these are premier guys. We have to take them seriously. So we're going to chip you. We're going to bring in some other guys to help block you so we can – I mean, is it going to sacrifice some passing options? Yeah, sure. But you know what's not as great? Being on the ground with Chase Young celebrating. That's just the reality of the situation. So, like it goes back to picking their spots. It goes back to picking where they can bring the right pressure at the right time. And, if you look at it last year, made a big impression. Boom. Bring down Carson Wentz for a lot of sacks. I think it was like 6 sacks in that week. They contracted a little bit after that game. And then it took them a couple of weeks to start getting more of that production again. And you have to look at it this way. They didn't really get a lot of production against Justin Herbert and the Chargers, which, by the way, Justin Herbert's one of the best quarterbacks under pressure. So keep that in mind. But they take that week 1 game, improve on that with 4 sacks. Now you're going up against the Bills, And you want to see those blocks sort of build and build, because no team is ever the same as they were in week 1 as they are in week, whatever you want to put down the road. They're not a finished product yet. And when they are, I think you're going to see more of that dominant group that we saw last year.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, Chase Young and Montez Sweat, if you notice, they're getting chipped at almost an unreal rate. And it really kind of seems to be getting to Chase. Chase has made a couple boneheaded plays, but he's still impacting the game. I mean, he's allowing Jonathan Allen. Jonathan Allen has 3 sacks already.
He's going to remember that Kyle Rudolph block, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, for sure. So one of the...
He did get rocked on that play. Yeah, he did get rocked.
Right.
It's not his fault. That was a great block by Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah. I mean, hey, what are you going to do? Yeah. So another area that seems to be kind of underperforming, at least in a lot of fans' eyes, has been the cornerback position. Now, I believe William Jackson III has played very well. I know he's given up a couple of big plays, but as you mentioned, the one deep pass to Darius Slayton that he dropped, that wasn't necessarily William Jackson III's fault. He was supposed to have coverage behind him. He was supposed to have help a man over the top. He wasn't there. Kendall Fuller seems to be getting beat a lot, and you seem to be seeing a lot more of Benjamin St. Juice on the outside and Kendall Fuller inside. Do you think that that's going to continue happening, or do you think that Kendall Fuller is eventually going to reclaim his outside spot, or they're comfortable with him inside, or what?
Well, I think they use him a lot, Benjamin St. Juice, on the outside during training camp and during the preseason. I would say they want to use him in that role more because he's, from a size perspective, a little more suited to it. Maybe in an ideal situation, they would have Kendall Fuller on the inside because, again, he is more suited for the nickel role in the Buffalo nickel position. So I would say maybe it all depends upon Benjamin St. Juice's ability to learn the scheme, honestly, because yes, he's made some good plays, but he's still a rookie. He's still not getting out. I think he's, if I looked at remember the snap counts this morning, he was up there in terms of like total snap percentages, but he could still be up. He could still improve on that just based on the schemes. So, and I would say that depending on if they're nickel or dime, it seems like when they're in those situations, they tend to put Kendall Fuller on the inside more anyway. So yeah, I think they believe enough in Benjamin St. Juice's ability to say, okay, we want to put you out there one-on-one with some of the better receivers out there. Go ahead, let's see what you got. And sometimes that's going to mean he's going to get beat. I think he's been beat a couple of times, especially against the Chargers. But sometimes you need to take your lumps as a rookie like that.
Yeah. Right. Now, real fast, for those of you listening at home, the reason that question really didn't make any sense is because I kind of blacked out halfway through. So I'm sorry.
It's okay. Now, to wrap this up, Selby, I have 2 different questions for you. The first one's kind of like rapid fire, just very simple. But I'm going to ask the second after you answer the first. The crowd. What was your interpretation of the crowd? You know, I was there. I saw and I was able to live it. But I wanted to see from your perspective in the press box, what did you think of the crowd last night at FedEx?
It's very interesting that you asked me that, because I was thinking about it today, and that was actually only the second win in the entire 2 years that I've been with Washington with fans in the stands, which is crazy. But I mean, and the other one was being the Detroit Lions game 2019. Yeah. And that place was amazing. The fans were rocking. I'm not really sure how many people were there for the total attendance, but that lower bowl looked like it was pretty packed. Yeah. And there were some Giants fans out there. You could see the blue, but it didn't really seem to matter because that crowd was loud. Heineke chants were going strong. It was one of the first real experiences I've had where I was like, you know what, we're back to a normal sense of what NFL football is like, and it was very refreshing.
Yeah, look, because I was telling people, I was on Andy's pod earlier, and I was like Washington fans aren't loud during games because they understand what can happen. Like they've been on the other side, they've seen the negatives happen, so they're waiting for it to happen. And then when that fourth quarter went down, they took control of the stadium back. So I think the Giants were flexing their muscles a little bit. But to finish this up, Selby, my last one for you, I wanted to ask you your grades off the top of your head for each of the units on the field. We can do it rapid fire if you want, off the top of your head.
Okay, let's do that.
All right. Quarterback.
A.
Yep. Running back.
A-.
I agree. Wide receiver. You don't want to go with A again, do you?
No.
Don't forget, Humphries had some pretty good plays.
I'm trying to really consider. I'm going back and watching my 2 grades here.
Right.
I'll go with another A minus.
Yeah.
Tight end.
Give a B.
O-line.
B plus.
I agree. Defensive line.
Straight up solid B.
Ooh, linebackers.
C plus.
DBs.
Flat C.
Wow, special teams.
B plus. I think
Tressway's,
special
yeah.
has been very good the past couple weeks.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we know Tress is Tress.
Yeah.
Dustin Hopkins, I almost broke my phone because of you. So
Last one, coaching.
A minus.
My man, you're very, very smart, Selby. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Selby, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight and being able to talk about this game from last night. That was absolutely incredible. I'm glad that you were able to, I know because you've been here for 2 years, to kind of really see what FedEx is like when it's true and what it means and what it is, especially with our history and everything. And it wasn't even at full capacity with how loud it was. And there were a lot of blue there. So Selby, I can't thank you enough for joining us. Before you go, do you want to just plug in your social media handles so people can find where your work?
Yeah, sure. You can check me out on the Twitters at Zach Selby WFT. Go on to Instagram if you want to check out some food stuff, Zach D. Selby. And if you want to send me a friend request on Facebook, I'll probably accept your friend request too. So
He's a very easygoing guy,
Yeah,
and
dude.
he's one of the
Yeah,
best
very
follows.
chill. Very
Best
chill.
follows on Washington Twitter, and one of the best food follows that there is.
Yes.
So when it comes to baking, nobody's better.
Nobody's
I need
better.
to show y'all the tiramisu that I made for Mitch Tischler.
Ooh.
It was very good.
Oh, I bet Mitch
Sounds good.
ate most of all of it.
Dude, if I got
Punish that,
tiramisu,
I'm
I
sure.
wouldn't get it out of the setting. My
Yeah,
goodness.
no
I know.
chance.
Dude,
I mean, it was one of those it was in one of those big casserole aluminum sort of pans that you get at Walmart and stuff. Oh, so good.
See,
You know what?
Mitch knows his stuff because he loves chunky peanut butter, so he's my type of guy
Yeah.
right there. He knows his stuff with food.
You know what? Because of that, I'm starting to hate Mitch now. I'm getting a little bit jealous.
I'm getting jealous of Selby. Selby, I hope you have a good night, brother. Thank you so much. I hope you go get a good night's sleep. I'm sure
Yeah,
you're
get
looking
some
forward to
rest.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to sleep as soon as I get off here for sure.
Enjoy the night,
Y'all take
Selby.
it easy.
Sweet
Yep.
dreams.
All right, so we'll catch you next time, brother. Thank you. All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Zach Selby from the game.
The goat.
That was, and I thought
The
he was very
game.
telling about the crowd. I think
Yeah.
because a lot of the media like to harp on the fact that there was lots of blue. Because I was talking about this with I think it was either George or Mike Puckett, and I was saying how because of it being such a thing in the past, people are going to be looking for the opposite color. So anytime they see the opposite color, it's like, oh yeah, there's so many people there. It's like, dude, I mean, I know, but New York always travels well. This shouldn't be a surprise anymore.
Not only just that, New York and Washington is like a 4-hour distance, and a lot of people from New York have moved down to DC. So it's kind of like you already expect there's going to be a lot of Giants fans there because it's a rivalry game anyway. So that's how it is in rivalry games.
Yep, absolutely. Now let's go into our fan questions, and we're gonna start with the Colonel, who has some fantastic questions for us. And
As per always.
yes, and so Reed, I'll start this one with you. He says, WT Sirius F at QB. Were Fitzpatrick, Gerald, and Heinicke at the same training camp? How the hell did we give Fitz $10 million to play 5 or 6 snaps?
Well, yeah, no, I understand, and it's frustrating. Injuries do happen, and it sucks because Ryan's never really been somebody who's been injured much in his career. He's not known for it, and of course, literally just a few snaps into his debut, he's, he gets a pretty serious injury, something that really hurts. But hey, man, you gotta love what you've seen from Taylor Heinicke so far. I know it's been limited, and look, say whatever you want. I know people are gonna jump the gun, say he's a franchise quarterback. You can't tell that yet, obviously.
Correct.
Look at Kyle Allen's first 6-7 starts when he was with the Panthers. He played amazing. After that, it was all downhill. So pump the brakes a little bit, but we do have a lot to be excited about because this guy looks like the ultimate gamer. And as soon as I said it before, but after he threw that interception, I was so upset because I was like, watch, they're gonna score a touchdown. Defense hasn't been able to stop him. They showed Taylor Heinicke, and he was on the sidelines, and he looked upset, and he at first maybe looked a little bit shook, but then I saw him mouth the words, "Just give me the ball back, give me the ball back." And I was like, okay, if this guy gets the ball back, if we can hold them to a field goal, he could do something. And what did he do?
Yeah, and this is because with Ryan Fitzpatrick, Colonel, this was my whole thought process with everyone saying if you had a redraft, would you take Chase Young over Justin Herbert? And I heard the junkies talking about saying if you're dumb, if you think that you should still take Chase Young. This is my point about it all. We could have drafted Justin Herbert, and guess what? He could have broke his leg in the first week of the season, and we'd be sitting here saying, why didn't we draft Chase Young? And you never know what's going to happen. And so that's why with this team, in my head, we will never have a franchise quarterback. We have to win with what we got. We just got to make it happen. That's it. That's what I've lived with at this point. That's what I've realized.
Also, real fast, why do people put so much into what the junkies say? I was always taught growing up, never listen to a junkie. Don't listen to junkies when they talk to you. Because they don't tell the truth a lot of the time. So
dude,
those guys.
Speaking of junkies, dude, Brandon told me a funny story about DC when he was down there.
I thought you were just calling Brandon a junkie. I was like, what?
No, Brandon Reinbold. Brandon was down in DC, and some homeless woman came up to him and tried to offer to go back somewhere. He was like, no, thank you. I'm just visiting. And she showed him her boob. Yeah, dude. He was he was very funny. He was telling me that story last night. But what about you, Hall?
That's funny. Just even in going back to your Justin Herbert whole Justin Herbert thing. Everyone had him as the third best quarterback in that draft.
Yeah,
he went as a number 3 quarterback in that draft. So even if he would have drafted a quarterback and everyone was like redraft, they would have drafted Tua because he was the second pick. If they would have took Joe Burrow, and everyone would be mad at Tua right now because he hasn't been playing up to the number 5 overall pick either. Right. So it's kind of do you want the defensive rookie of the year or do you want a quarterback that everyone's kind of
plus it's not
already trying to ship him out and go to Houston for Deshaun Watson.
Right.
So
it's not like he's been Jeff Okudah. Chase Young's been pretty good at a very important position.
Right. Now, Hall, let's stay with you for the second question from the Colonel. And he's feeling some type of way with this one. You better get ready. He said, I'm tired you guys blowing me off when I ask about the mediocrity of our linebacking core. I've listened to you guys tell me for the past 6 months how Jack and Ron have it covered. Shut my pie hole and sit down. I think it's starting to become fairly obvious it's a weak point, though I thought Bostic looked pretty damn good last night. What are your comments?
Yes. Nah, seriously. Look. I thought that because obviously Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio, they played the position. That's kind of their specialty. They're both defensive guys. I thought that, especially after last year and Ron Rivera kind of calling out the linebackers, and I thought that this year that they would kind of get them in game form by week 1. And obviously, again, you can say what you want about week 1. Yes, they were the whole defense was bad as a whole. But a lot of those throws were just so on point, and Justin Herbert just has one of those arms where he can literally hit every single blade of grass on the field. You have to cover the whole field, which is literally impossible on a football field as a defense. But with that being said, you're right. The linebackers is definitely the weakness. It's only week 2. I'm definitely on your side right now, where that's definitely the weak spot of the team as a whole. Definitely the weak spot of the defense. And to be honest with you, if Ron and Jack don't really get those guys in shape, and if the defensive line doesn't really start kind of winning their battles, one-on-one battles, even their double team battles, or at least getting some type of pressure, that's going to be a problem the whole season. So it's week 2. Hopefully, there's 15 more games to go. Hopefully, they'll kind of get a little momentum under them and start playing a little bit better. But you're 100% right, Colonel, that the linebacking core is the weak spot, and they need to get whipped up into shape ASAP, or it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, you're right. And look, but I will say, Bostic made a big play last night behind the line of scrimmage. That was
Jamie Davis made a great play on Sterling Shepard.
Oh yeah, so, Jamie Davis laid him out.
As I was about to say, what happened was that in the beginning of the game, Jamin would come off on 3rd down, but then Daniel Jones was obviously exposing John Bostic in the passing game. And so they had to take him out. Jamin comes in and actually does very, very well from a pass defense standpoint. And there was one route. It was a 3rd and goal, I believe it was. And they sent Sterling Shepard in the slot. And Jamin was one-on-one with him. And so Sterling comes up, gives him a stutter step, then goes inside. Jamin stayed with him, tackled him, got him short of the goal line, and that's when they kicked that field goal. So Jamin, I thought, took that job last night, especially against pass-happy offenses, because he shows the speed, ability to do that. I thought he made a giant leap. So I think they're getting better with the linebackers, but I feel like the linebackers might be a weakness now, but I feel like because of who they have, the athletes that they have, the coaching that they have, and going through the season and getting better with a natural progression that way, I think it might be one of the better units, probably better than the secondary by the end of the season, to be perfectly honest.
Right, yeah, Colonel, we don't sweep your question under the rug. So anyway, about this receiver core, no, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, I mean, look, the linebackers haven't necessarily stood out when it comes to flashy plays or on the stat sheet, but both of you guys hit the nail on the head. I mean, Jamin Davis played a fantastic game last night, especially when you compare it to week 1. He was our highest rated defender. And you're right, Kyle, he wasn't on the field early, but when he did come in, he did make a very big difference. And Hall, like you mentioned, he did have that huge play, that huge hit. And Cole Holcomb is improving, but really
He did not
our
look
linebacking, yeah, he didn't look good last night, no. But our linebacking core is really still not, I mean, Ron and Jack do know what they're doing, but it's still not like it's not a strong point of this defense or anything.
Right.
I don't think anybody said that. I think Jamin Davis has the potential to be a very, very good linebacker in the NFL, and he will. But right now, I mean, yeah, you're 100% right. They still haven't been anything impressive.
Yeah. And then Colonel's third question for us. Did Jared Patterson suit up for the game last night? If so, why did we not see him more? Please comment on McKissick's efforts last night. I thought he looked great. Reed.
He did suit up for the game, didn't he? Because he had a penalty called against him on the kickoff. Him and what's his face? Well, you can't. I'm talking. Him and Jared Patterson. What's his face? Double team somebody on a kickoff return, I believe.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure why we didn't see him. Other than that, and J.D. McKissick, man, what more can you say about him? That guy is such a weapon out of the backfield. I'm surprised we didn't see more of him week 1. And he was that one catch that he had up the sideline. He had a one on the final drive as well, but up the sideline to set up the touchdown to Ricky Seals-Jones that was such a J.D. McKissick play, and you got to love that. You got to love this two-headed monster. I'm really upset that we kind of abandoned with Antonio Gibson, though. I think that we should have used him a little bit more. But, hey.
Yeah, you can see their game plan a little bit, Colonel, with J.D. McKissick, because they didn't use him heavily against Sunday against the Chargers. They were kind of offset that, use him against Blake Martinez with the slower kind of linebackers. I think Scott Turner and coach kind of saw that mismatch, and they wanted to utilize that, and they did on that big play, like you just said, Reed. And the linebacker actually, had a flag, had a penalty on J.D. McKissick. He touched him, blocked him, impeded his progress, but J.D. was still able to get by him, and Taylor's ball was perfect on that play. I thought J.D. McKissick had an incredible game last night, not only running the football and passing. His stats for the night: 5 receptions, 83 yards, 4 rushing attempts, 10 yards, and 1 touchdown. He was very productive in that aspect, but he was also a very good blocker. There were a couple blocks he picked up in pass protection. He saved Taylor a couple times. So credit to JD. He had a great game, to your point. And with Jared Patterson, it's going to be it's like situational. It's what's going to happen when he's going to get into the game, because AG and JD are so good, you don't want to take them off unless it's for a good reason.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, working kind of backwards on this. Patterson, it was more of a pass-happy kind of type of night last night. And like I said, even Antonio Gibson only had 13 rushes or something like that. So he wasn't even really heavily used in the game plan. It was more of a, like I said, Taylor Heineke throw the ball over the yard and get JD involved on the linebackers and safeties and on the mismatches. And like I said, with JD McKissick, obviously, that's why I gave my flowers to Scott Turner, is because I think that in week 1, everyone was kind of scared, like, oh, it looks kind of like the same vanilla offense. I feel like he went back and kind of figured out what worked from last year and kind of incorporated that into a newer game plan, which was feed our playmakers, get Terry involved early and often, get Logan involved early and often, get a guy like J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson, the guys that pretty much carried the offense last year, get them involved early and often. And it definitely paid off later on in the game, like I said, with that huge play with J.D. McKissick. J.D. McKissick gets the touchdown run on the Taylor Heineke check at the line of scrimmage, which was another great call by Taylor. So overall, like I said, the running backs I think they played well. I think that I definitely wanted a little bit more usage from Antonio Gibson. Mainly that's personal because I have him on my fantasy and I need a little bit more points. But with that being said, the running backs overall, I think they played a hell of a game, and hopefully that'll be a thing going forward where we keep getting J.D. McKissick involved in the offense.
Yeah, your one comment about Scott Turner, I don't think it was just specifically last year. Taylor Heineke in his presser talked about how at Old Dominion they had the West Coast offense. He played in it for 4 years. He knows like the back of his hand. And I think Scott Turner and Taylor Heineke just have a natural comfortability with the West Coast offense and the 2-minute. And I feel like they both just clicked there because we saw against Tampa, the offense was clicking more than any other quarterback that they've had last season or this season with Ryan Fitz. It just works better with Taylor. I just feel like they're a good pair together that just work.
Another thing, how do you guys feel about that during that interception, Taylor Heineke's interception? Do you think that they should have ran the ball in that situation?
So
I see a lot of people saying that on Twitter right now.
So coach in his presser talked about that was an RPO. That was in run pass option.
Right.
So Taylor was reading the end, and either he had to give the ball to Antonio Gibson or keep it. And I don't like that play call first and foremost because I would much rather had a stretch play action rollout where the quarterback is coming cross field and having Logan Thomas or Ricky Stills-Jones following in front of him on that stretch coming by. That way Taylor has the ability to run the football, to slide behind the line of scrimmage to keep the clock running, or to pass it to Logan to get positive yardage. I would much rather like that than having a play action play on RPO with short routes. You know how easy that is to defend? It's so easy to defend that, and it's a huge interception worry for me personally. Sorry.
I didn't really mind the play call just for the simple fact of even when I was watching the game, as soon as I saw it develop, you couldn't see Humphries on the other side of the field because he was off the screen. But my first read was, oh, AG's on the swing pass, hit him real quick, get him on a linebacker, maybe he'll make a miss, get up the sideline. You know what I'm saying? Turn something into pretty much nothing. Or AG gets a couple yards, stays in bounds, clock keeps moving. You know, I definitely see your point where you like to see him maybe get out the pocket, maybe a little boot action, something like that.
Yep.
And like you said, give him the option to either kind of slide in bounds, maybe get a couple yards of the field on the run, hit Logan, or maybe someone on a comeback. But yeah, overall, I didn't really have a problem with the play. I just had a problem with him trying to force it to Terry rather than just taking the easy check down on the swing pass.
That's where I'm at with it. It's almost just like the decision.
It was two bad decisions. It was to not run the ball with AG and then to throw it to Terry.
To force it. And especially with James Bradbury right there, somebody as good as him. Because I'll give him credit all day. Look, Terry played amazing, obviously, but James Bradbury is one of the most underrated corners in the NFL.
Yeah, that was a fantastic catch by him.
Great jump.
Awesome play, right?
Yeah, awesome play. And like the messed up thing is I think the linebacker had impeded Terry on that route.
He did. That's what kind of messed him. Messed the timing up, which is why Bradbury kind of jumped in front of it. But again, I always thought that I don't know, like the kind of the progression of the play. Like I said, me watching the play, I just thought the number one route would have been AG out the backfield. But that's just me.
Now let's move on to our guy Brandon Reinbold, who we were able to meet. Hall.
Great guy.
Sunday game.
I wish I got to meet him. I love him.
He was talking big smack to the Chargers fans in front of us.
Was he? Yes, hell yeah. I want to hang out with Reinbold because I want to go places and talk.
Oh, they got him back though because they were quiet the whole time, and then as soon as that clock hit 0, they turned around and were like, and I was just like.
I would have had your back, Brandon. You've had my back through this writing, so I got you.
Yeah, dude. Brandon is the man. He went to the game last night as well, and it was so funny. I walked up to the tailgate because we got there late, and I see Brandon like standing with a bunch of people at a tailgate, like randomly at a car drinking. I was like, Brandon? Yeah. He was like, oh, what's up, man? He was like, yeah, I've been here a couple hours partying with these guys. Good Lord, Brandon. You're awesome. But Brandon is so cool, man. So, all right, his question for us. Who is to blame for the defensive struggles, Del Rio or the play of the defense, Hall?
I mean, I'll go 50-50 on it. I think that Del Rio is playing a little bit, I'm not going to say passive in his play calling, but I think he needs to be a little more aggressive as far as sending a little bit more pressure here and there, disguising stuff a little bit better. But I also put it on the players where the coaches aren't on the field. They're not the ones missing the tackles. They're not the ones blowing the coverages. They're not the ones having their eyes where they're not supposed to be, which is allowing Daniel Jones to run off the edge on us 3-4 different times.
Right.
So it's definitely a 50-50 type of share pie for me, but yeah, that's just how I see it.
I don't think that anyone really is to blame for the struggles. I feel like the Giants are just a good offense, and that's something that people just need to come to grips with because this team is bend but don't break. You know, I was with Donnie last night. He had Graham Gano on his fantasy team, 22 points. That's what this defense does. Yes, they give up yardage. Of course they're going to give up yardage, but they don't give up points. They give up field goals. They make you work for it. They don't allow you to come in, and that's what Jack Del Rio has been doing. He's been running a zone in man, and what he's doing, he's only rushing 4. He's essentially saying, okay, I'm going to take away the deep ball. You have to do everything short, and we're going to come up and we're going to tackle you. And I'm going to bank on my rushers getting home in time to disrupt the play. But what's happening is that the rush is not getting home. And so Jack Del Rio does have to get creative with what he did, and that's what he did with the Kendall Fuller blitz. I know that they sent Cam Curl on a blitz one time as well. Maybe it was Bobby McCain. And they were kind of doing those blitz packages, and that's what they're going to need from now on. Because before, they didn't think they needed to. But I think now, and especially going against Buffalo next Sunday, I think they're going to need to dial up some creative plays, and I think they will.
You think Daniel Jones was going on around that edge on the read option plays like that? Just wait till you see Josh Allen out there.
Right. And like you guys said, it's kind of a combination, but you can't necessarily fault anybody. Like, you can't really fault Del Rio because he knows what his players are capable of. So he knows that if he keeps going with Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Matt Ioannidis, Tim Settle, these guys, that eventually they're going to stop people. They're going to get the sacks. It's going to happen eventually. But towards the end there, he was just like, all right, it's not getting done. So yeah, I got to send some of these exotic blitzes. We got to make something happen.
And real quick, I just want to coaches in the NFL, the way that I view it, I'm not going to say it's right or wrong, but the way that I view it is like, like there's Boy Scouts that have like that one race where like they make the cars, little box cars, and like you race them.
Yeah, the Pinewood Derby.
Yeah, the Pinewood Derby.
Remember that, South Park?
That's how coaching. That's how coaching is in the NFL and coaching in general. You're getting these guys ready. You're building your car, and then when you go after that competition, you're banking that your car is going to do well when you put it down, and that's what kind of coaching is in the NFL. Right. And that's why I'm saying it. You can't really blame it on either because the other team is good at what they do too. You got to give them respect.
Right. And also, I mean, like you said, Kyle, I mean, this defense, we saw it all last year. Like, yes, this defense had a lot of sacks early last year, and they got after the quarterback, but they were kind of a bend, don't break. They weren't going to give up a whole bunch of points, but I mean, people could score on them. But at the same time, in today's NFL, you're not going to see another 2000s Ravens. I mean, the rules just won't allow it. You're not going to see somebody just straight up 85 Bears and just dominate from start to finish the entire game. Like, that just doesn't happen anymore, unfortunately. Right. But so you kind of just got to take it for what it is. And this defense, I think, will click. It will come together, and they will be. They're too talented for it not to.
Yeah. And then, Brandon, I'm going to save your two questions for Friday. Because I want to, because
today's Friday.
It's about Buffalo. I mean, next on Monday. I'm sorry. For Monday, because it's about Buffalo, Brandon. If that's okay with you, because you always have great ones. I'm gonna have that.
He's my favorite serial killer, Buffalo Bob.
Yeah, he's gonna have the freestyle for us. And then, so our next question was from Orange Crush 92, one of our biggest fans. Absolutely great guy. He asked this the other day, and it was who to start this weekend. It was either Deebo Samuel going against Darius Slay, or it was Brandon Cooks going against Denzel Ward for Cleveland for fantasy. And I was going to ask you guys what you think he should do there.
I would go Deebo Samuel. I think after what he did last week, look, Darius Slay, obviously he's very good, but Darius Slay's already been in the NFL. He's been in the NFL for a while. He's not quite as athletic as he used to be. Deebo Samuel's a very, very fantastic athlete, and Kyle Shanahan, as we saw, loves to use him. Jimmy Garoppolo looked for him a bunch. He made a bunch of plays. They're going to continue to feed him the ball. The one thing that worries me is San Francisco does like to spread the ball around. You can't really pinpoint one person each week aside from Kittle that's going to do something big. But I would imagine that after last week, they're going to continue to feed Deebo Samuel that ball.
Yeah, look, obviously the Eagles are going to be harping and going hard on Deebo Samuel. But the fact is, Kyle Shanahan is incredibly smart. And what he's going to do is he's going to use George Kittle against those linebackers all day long, rip the middle of the field. And that's going to open up the one-on-one matchups with Deebo Samuel deep downfield. It's going to make it easy money for them. I still think it's Deebo. I'm not a big Brandon Cooks guy. I love Tyrod Taylor. He's a Virginia Tech boy. I love him. But for fantasy football, he doesn't excite me. I don't think that they're not going to be consistent with how they played in week one. Right. I think that's just how bad Jacksonville is.
Right.
People sleep on Brandon Cooks.
I know.
Yeah. He was a top 12 receiver last year.
I knew he was. That was because of Deshaun Watson, though. Come on, we got to be honest.
125.
I mean, he's been good his entire career.
Honestly, I would probably say Deebo, but I'll just give you the Brandon Cooks side of it, just because I'm gonna pick Deebo because Brandon Ayuk coming back off that injury, he's gonna open up the field a little bit more. I think that obviously Deebo Samuel's like more of a weapon. You can line him up in the backfield, outside slot. You can do the jet sweep with the handoffs. Right. But the only like plus side of maybe Brandon Cooks would be that they're going to be throwing the ball a lot because I believe that they're going to be down to the Browns early and often, which means they're going to start throwing the ball a lot, which means that if
Cooks is going to get a lot.
You're going to rack up the yards. You're going to rack up the catches. Yeah.
That's a great point.
Another thing though that about Brandon Cooks is Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward is he's similar to Brandon Cooks in the sense that they're similar sizes and they're both blazing fast. So like if anybody's going to keep up with Brandon Cooks, who's known as that deep threat guy, Denzel Ward's like almost a perfect cornerback to do it, so it's going to be hard. But Hall, you bring up a good point about them being down.
But the thing is, like, I think Cleveland and Myles Garrett, like, licking their chops going against Tyrod Taylor.
Oh, they are.
I feel like they are going to be extremely limited through the passing game, even being down is like my whole thought process. But that's a great point, Hall. Now, Tony Shivers, our big fan, Big Tone, he wants to say something.
Man.
He said, obviously there is a ton to work on, but one good sign, they took away the Giants' best players. Kenny Golladay and Leonard Williams were non-factors, and Golladay was caught ripping into Jones on the bench.
Yeah,
LOL. That's a great point, Tony.
Another thing you got to start looking into is what's his face? They're a first-round pick out of Florida. Why am I just having a brain fart? Kadarius Toney is super frustrated right now. I mean, he voiced something on Instagram talking about how he's not mad. He's just basically disappointed.
So week one, he had like one play. He went for -5 yards. It was an end around. They ran the same exact play, and we blew it up the same exact way, like -5 yards. So obviously he's blown because I'm glad the Giants took a wide receiver that they're not utilizing at number 20. But, it is what it is. Now, our next question is
not even just that. They paid Golladay all that money.
Yeah, exactly.
Utilize him. They're still using Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton.
Yeah, it's funny. Now, our next question is from Jay Dilla, Premier Wonder, my guy. What's up, brother? He wants to know, how many busted coverage plays by the Giants did we not take advantage of? Because people are acting like the offense and Taylor played great because of the 30 points. He thinks we just played the Giants.
I mean, there was one obvious one where he hit – who was it? I think he hit Humphries on like a little like in route or a seam route or like a comeback route or out route. And then he had DeAndre Carter just streaking down the field wide open. That was like early on, maybe I think first quarter, something like that, maybe early second. But outside of that, I didn't really see a lot of busted cover from the Giants, but again, I wasn't at the game, so I couldn't see the whole field. I could only see like the game view,
No, you were right.
That's what I was about to say. I can't really answer.
Did you say the Cam Sims one? Is that what you said?
You said DeAndre Carter.
Oh, DeAndre Carter. There was a Cam Sims one where I think Taylor was pressured and he never looked left. No, he never looked right. He was looking left the whole time. He had Cam Sims wide open in the end zone. The two guys in front of me made a point about it and talked about it. And in the replay, Taylor never even looked his way. So I knew that was one, but it did not happen often. The Giants are good defensively. They are. And I'll tell you right now, man, I am so impressed the fact that Antonio Gibson averaged 5 yards per carry. That was one of my keys for the game last night. He did that. And then with everything they were able to do, moving the ball, moving those guys around, because that's supposed to be their one area of strength on defense is stopping the run. And they were able to do it effectively. I loved to see that. And they didn't do it too much. They mixed it perfectly. I loved it.
Right.
Now, our next question is from Tony, actually. I'm sorry, Tony. I missed this one.
Our next question is
y'all's thoughts on Humphries, Adam Humphries. He said, I thought he had some under-the-radar big plays and clutch moments. And I just want to put it in. Adam Humphries was the leading receiver last night with 7 receptions for 44 yards. What do you think, Hall?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the end of the game, he's the guy that got the
second leading receiver because Terry.
Yeah, yardage-wise, yeah. Or I guess catches-wise, too.
Catches-wise, Terry had 11.
Yeah, but he definitely had a couple clutch catches. Like I said, end of the game, he gets that big third down to move the chains, get us closer to the field goal position, even though Hopkins ends up missing the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, he's definitely playing that kind of slot underneath kind of the safety valve role. They've been pushing kind of the middle of the field, intermediate routes with him as well. And just like Selby kind of brought up, Diami, Cam Sims are kind of like a combined kind of number 2 type of role right now. So he definitely going to have to keep stepping up, definitely going to have to keep utilizing him, especially if we're going to keep a team like the Bills off the field. We're going to have to keep drives going, complete a lot of third downs, and Humphries is definitely the perfect guy to do that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say leading receiver because obviously Terry was with 14
you're
targets.
Wrong a lot, so it's okay.
I'm wrong all the time. But Adam Humphries for this offense reminds me of Jamison Crowder for a couple years ago, where it said that short intermediate stuff that's kind of helping the quarterback. It's not a check down, but it's like a check down, where he's doing those shallow crossers, getting the ball, pick up a couple yards.
Option routes.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought he did great last night. There was a couple catches. There was one catch where he was running left. He had to turn around for it. It was a very hard catch, but he caught it and then got positive yards. I was very impressed by Adam, and I talked a bunch of crap about him in the preseason because I wasn't impressed with how he played, but I was very impressed last night. I thought he earned it.
Yeah, and you're 100% right, Kyle. I mean, does kind of remind you a little bit of Jamison Crowder. It's just the one main difference is that Adam Humphries he's a white. But no, he's a nice guy. Yeah, no. He came up big though. He came up clutch. He had that one big first down where he was running towards the sidelines and just picked up a few extra yards. And I really like him in this offense. I think he can be very effective.
Yes. And then our last question is from Paul Murphy. And Paul's question is, fantastic game and result. So excited to watch it till 5 a.m. in Scotland. Obviously, McCorn, Heineke will get the majority of the plaudits for the result. But who were your unsung heroes last night? Can you pick one for defense, offense, and special teams? Hall.
Special teams. Man, I guess I'll go Dustin Hopkins only because he got the second chance and redeemed himself to win the game for us. Defense, I will go. Gotta go Jonathan out. He's not really unsung hero, but defense, I'll go Jamin Davis just because PFF had him pretty rated high. He made that great open field tackle on Sterling Shepard, which easily could have been a touchdown to obviously put points on the board and would have won them the game eventually down the road. And offense, I will go Ricky Seals-Jones, first catch of the Washington football team. Makes an outstanding catch. Yeah, like I said, whenever he caught it, I didn't think he was going to get both of his feet down. He did it with ease, look like. So shout out to him. He definitely gets my unsung hero award for offense.
Yeah, my unsung hero for defense, Deron Payne. He caused a lot of havoc. He's been playing really good, really well. Past 2 games, he's been kind of that unsung hero of the defensive line. And then Jonathan Allen, of course, getting the 2 sacks. Those were huge. He stepped up big time when we needed a play, especially because going last week, what was it? They were 14 of 18, essentially 14 of 19, but one of them was a kneel down. So they were 14 of 18 on third down. In this game, New York was held to, 4 of 12, only 30%. A lot better than last week, so that's
one of my
incredible.
Keys to the game, hold them under 40%.
Absolutely. So Deron Payne has a lot to do with that. And then for offense, the unsung hero, I'll go Sam Cosmi because he did a really good job last night, run blocking and really solidifying that edge. But another one I'll give you, Eric Flowers. He played really well last night. One of the main reasons why we were able to run the ball so well on the left side. And then special teams, I guess Cam Cheeseman. Or no, Dexter Lawrence, sorry.
So special teams, I'm surprised any of you guys said it. I mean, I know obviously he's not an unsung hero because he's probably our best player, but Tress Way played another fantastic game. Tress Way, of course. I mean, he flips field position a lot. Anytime changer. Yeah. Anytime he punts the ball, you know something good's going to happen. Defense, it's a little bit tough. You guys took some good ones. I'm going to go with somebody who's not necessarily an unsung hero because he played very well, but because he made a huge play, and that was Kendall Fuller with that sack. And then on offense, I have 2. Offense, I'm going to go with J.D. McKissick, number 1, because I think he's just him out of the backfield, it just brings a completely new element to this offense. But then I'm also going to go with Charles Leno Jr. Charles Leno, you didn't hear his name at all, and that's what you want out of your left tackle. Especially, I mean, we gave up only 1 sack all game. Taylor Heineke was barely hit, so.
I just wanted to say, I noticed on the sideline right before that last drive, Leno was talking to Taylor, and I'm sure that he was letting him know, man, let's go do this thing. I believe in you. After that interception, Taylor was freaking ready for it, man.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
He's a nice guy. Yeah. I'll tell you, man, that game, that almost killed me. But you know what they say? They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But I would disagree because I think that what doesn't kill you actually makes you very weak. Usually, because they're usually so close to death.
Yes. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this show. Thank you to everyone for your fan questions and your submissions. We couldn't do it without you guys. Really appreciate Selby making some time out for us and being able to talk about that game last night because, man, was that incredible. I want to say, because we talked about the unsung hero that from Paul's question for us, I'm going to say the crowd. In that fourth quarter, late in that fourth quarter, the fans really did help out the defense there, but the Giants had to call a couple timeouts and got a false starts because of it, and it really did help the defense. So I do think that we were helping out the team, and the team was helping us out by doing well. And so it's like we're getting back to normal, man. All right, everybody. We will be back with you on Monday. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
I'm watching you. I'm watching you, Falker. Don't do anything out there, Falker. That's Robert De Niro.
I was going to let you go to see how long you were going to go. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell so that way you get notified whenever a new episode is uploaded. All right, everybody. We will see you on Monday. Washington 130-29. Daniel Jones is no longer undefeated against the Washington football team, and I can guarantee you nobody cares if Dexter Lawrence actually jumped the ball or not, because that Chase Young flag was not right. So guess what? Get over it.
Before we go, real quick, y'all still crying over that over Twitter? Like you're really like about to call the league is going to change the score of the game. It's over. Deal with it. Move on.
What you should be mad at is that one guy that you swear is better than Terry McLaurin, Darius Slayton. He definitely couldn't catch COVID. That dude can go outside maskless. That guy can do whatever he wants. He's not catching it. He didn't care.
Of course, you had to ask that to Selby, too. You knew Selby wasn't going
to That's why I said it. I like to make him uncomfortable sometimes.
I don't know why you do that. The boy was tired, man. Let him go to sleep. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for getting this far. We will see you guys on Monday. Have a good weekend. If you have any fantasy questions, reach out to us, man. You know, we'll answer. We love you guys. All right, everybody. We'll see you on
10
Monday.
days until the next game?
Yeah, it's a while.
I don't like that.
But I kind of like watching football without that, like knowing that we won because it feels good.
Right, yeah.
It's a chill weekend.
It's good, yeah. It's like anything can happen. I don't care.
Right.
A lot of red zone this weekend.
Yes.
Right.
Hey.
All right, everybody. We'll see you Monday. Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!